Rick Dhaliwal threw it out. And I think he actually threw it out with the context of, I think a good way to get Derek Forbort to sign would be to bring his old coach in Kevin Dean. Sure enough, Canucks hire Kevin Dean, and Derek Forbort signs shortly thereafter. What a pull by Dhaliwal. What a gut feeling that Rick Dhaliwal had there. This was a report from Drance. He said, hearing Canucks will be hiring former Blackhawks and Bruins assistant coach Kevin Dean, whose name Dhaliwal surfaced last week, to join Adam Foote's staff. Foote and the club are still finalizing the rest of the staff. Expect Dean hire to be announced when that's complete. So that's the important thing to mention here. Canucks haven't announced it officially, but they're not going to announce one head coaching hiring. They're going to make their other hirings. Those are going to come, you would expect, in the coming days, maybe week. I don't know when, but they're going to announce it all at once. They're not going to do, Kevin Dean doesn't get his own press release. That's not how it works. So it's going to be all at once. They're going to announce the full staff for the year. So obviously, this is leading to questions of what is Kevin Dean going to do? Who is Kevin Dean? And third, who else is going to round out that staff? So right now, Yogi Svechkovsky is the only other coach, now Kevin Dean as well, behind the bench alongside Adam Foote. Kevin Dean is going to be the defense coach, it would seem. That was his role in both Chicago and Boston, and Foote talked about needing to hire a defense coach, and he kind of joked about like, well, I would like to run the defense myself, but I need to hire a coach to do it. So this is their guy, Kevin Dean, hired as the Canucks defensive strategies coach.
Yeah, first of all, forget the keep Quinn Hughes plan. This is quite clearly a keep Derek Forbort plan, your true franchise defenseman. Derek Forbort calling the shots here. But no, in all seriousness, I like this hire. He has a lot of experience running defenses, again, as you alluded to, in Chicago for the last 3 seasons, and then in Boston for 5 or 6 years. So he's got a lot of experience. This isn't the case of going sort of cheap or the inexperienced route, which is important, right? Because in Adam Foote, you're looking at a head coach that himself doesn't have a lot of experience. And this is where we've been saying, when you evaluate what the Canucks do with their coaching staff as a whole, a big part of assessing that is going to be what's the quality of the assistant coaches that they surround him with. And I like the Dean hiring from that perspective. Dean has a lot of experience working with young defensemen. That's what he did a lot of in Chicago, because the Blackhawks, outside of Seth Jones, really didn't have a lot of experienced established defensemen, and they've been in a rebuild mode. So he's worked with a lot of their younger defensemen in recent times, getting them acclimated to the NHL style of game, and honestly, working multiple of them in at the same time, which is noteworthy because the Canucks, of course, in a phase where they're potentially trying to work some of DPD, Mancini, and Willander into the lineup and make sure that they're ready from a development standpoint to hit the ground running in the NHL. In Chicago, Alex Vlasic has taken massive strides. He was drafted originally in the 3rd round and was sort of a project defenseman, 6'6", but he didn't have the puck skills or the skating to necessarily profile as a top 4 defenseman. But over the last 2 years, he's turned into a legit top 4 shutdown stud, a core part of that Blackhawks team. And honestly, they're de facto number 1 defenseman now that Seth Jones is gone. Outside of Vlasic, I mean, it hasn't all been positive, right? So Kevin Korchinski, really high draft pick, probably rushed in the NHL in 2023-24. He struggled defensively. And then this past season, he split time between Rockford and the NHL, mostly in Rockford. But other guys as well. I mean, Sam Rinzel on the right side of the blue line played 9 games down the stretch, and he exceeded all expectations. It looks like, all right, he could be a building block on the blue line. And then Lev Shanov as well, towards the end of the season, came up from Rockford and impressed at the NHL level. So I'd say it's been mostly positive, what we've seen from Blackhawks defensemen, especially the younger ones during Dean's time running the defense there. And while he was in Boston, the Bruins perennially had one of the most rock solid defenses in the NHL. So he's an experienced voice. I like his track record. He should be a solid fit here.
Yeah, I was going to say the thing that stands out is obviously that this wasn't a cheap hire, and that was the thing that everybody was kind of wondering about. It was a quiet part out loud. Was this organization going to cheap out where they could? And obviously, assistant coaches is a place you can. This wouldn't be a cheap hire. So, yeah, kudos to the organization. Kevin Dean seems like a really good fit